What's nice about this dream is that the dreamer has indicated that right away they started reorganizing. Right away they got help and they're getting people together to help them rebuild that. So, whether this is a review of what's happening currently, because dreams are not always prophetic, a lot of times they're just an evaluation of what's happening currently in your life. Hello, welcome to Dream Dowsing. We are your hosts, Kim and Margarita, and every week we record a new podcast where we take a dream and we interpret it. I use dream symbols and intuition to interpret the dream, and Margarita uses her pendulum. Would you like to show us that beautiful DNA pendulum, DNA spiral pendulum? It is gorgeous. How does that work?
So the way it works is that any of these pendulum, and this one in particular, it it gets in touch with subtle energies. So those things that we cannot see, our senses are limited. So when you are interpreting a dream, as is in this case for this podcast, we are connected. We already had a session of we connect with each other and make sure we connect with your dream to see that you are going in the right direction according to what we cannot see.
Yeah.
And so if he goes back and forth, it's agreeing with you. Then if for any reason it's thinking because you may have said something that is not, it just causes like, okay, where is she going with this? It may go counterclockwise and then come back to yes or no. And the no is left, right, and the yes is back and forth.
Yeah, perpendicular to your. So for those of you who are watching, you can see, and I definitely try and follow what Margarita's pendulum is saying over there while I'm doing my interpretation. So we'll do that, have a little discussion, and then tell you how you can put your dream into our inbox so we can pull that and do an analysis here on our show. We'd love to do that. All right, so let's get started. All right, this dream takes place on a small deck, like a wooden deck. The dream is about 8 foot square, it says, and it says there are tiers of decks. So it sounds like there are other decks. It doesn't say if they're the same size or not, but there are other decks below this top deck. This is outside, and the dreamer is sitting at the lower right corner of the deck. Said the deck started to give way in their corner. It started to collapse there. The dreamer said they announced their intention to rebuild the deck and began reorganizing and getting people to help out right away. So that was a neat dream. So, are we ready? All right. So, a deck, when I do the symbols here, I use interpretation dictionaries. And so some of them I just know, some of them I look up. But some have positive interpretations and negative interpretations. So it would depend on how the dreamer feels. So if the dreamer says it was a nightmare, it was terrible, that tells me one thing. If it was I felt really good and uplifted, that tells me something else. Deck just has one interpretation. It represents achievement or success. Um, the fact that the deck is outside represents freedom, openness, opportunities, taking action. Negative, outside has a negative interpretation. It can be to avoid compliance, having too much freedom, and needing structure. So those are potential interpretations of those symbols. For this dream, my takeaway from this dream is that the person has achieved in life. They have other decks below them, and now there's another deck on top. This is another level of achievement or success in their life. It can be work related, it could be personal. Your pendulum is going back and forth, yes, on all this. So they're all potential options. Um, the fact that it's outside, I don't think this represents negative interpretation. I think it all sounds very positive. The dreamer did not indicate they were feeling sad or scared or nervous or stressed on this one. So I'm thinking what has happened is that the dreamer has experienced some part of their life that is falling apart or breaking apart. It could be personal, where maybe there's a relationship. Okay, the pendulum is thinking. If you're not watching, the pendulum is going in a spiral here. So it could be a personal matter where they're experiencing some problems, and it's saying yes. It could be a job related issue too, where some job matter has gone wrong, or some project is not working as proposed. Now I noticed the pendulum is really kicking it up for that one. That's a
Yeah.
very strong yes. So this may be a career related thing or a project related thing. But what's nice about this dream is that the dreamer has indicated that right away they started reorganizing. Right away they got help, and they're getting people together to help them rebuild that. So whether this is a review of what's happening currently, because dreams are not always prophetic. A lot of times they're just an evaluation of what's happening currently in your life. And so it could be that right now this person is working on rebuilding something that has gone awry, and the pendulum's going strong yes on this. It could also be a reminder to do such a thing if there is a situation right now where the dreamer is experiencing, and you're spiraling on that one. The pendulum is spiraling on that one, so it's thinking. Here's what I will suggest is that it could be that the person also has experienced a loss or a complication or a breakdown in something they're working on, and they are being reminded that they can start working to rebuild it. So, and the pendulum likes that one the best. And it's a really very good dream. So for the dreamer, it sounds like you know what you're doing, and you know how to rebuild it, and you can reorganize, and you'll rebuild that deck and maybe even put on another tier. So that's the interpretation. They've experienced some loss and they can rebuild it.
Well, that sounds really always very interesting. It's just I'm always amazed how you can put all this together. I just, as you know, I'm not very don't remember my dreams like I have said in the past. So
Yeah.
and you yeah, and you've been doing this again just for anybody who's even listening for the first time. You never know.
Right, exactly. But this one was pretty simple, and it's a pretty nice dream. And what I didn't really stress is that there's the openness of the outdoors, that there's a lot of opportunities here. They're taking action. That's what the outside recommends, or is that's the interpretation, that there is opportunity, there's freedom here, and there's the opportunity to take action. So it's all very positive. These things, what I like is that these are all building on themselves. So there's achievement, there's success, and then there's taking action. Those all go hand in hand with each other. So I like that. I like it when the symbols validate each other. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that with your pendulum. That was good.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was an easy one. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're listening and you would like to send in your dream, you can go to our website, dreamdowsing.com. And down at the bottom, you can see a form that you can fill out that will tell you exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for when you had the dream, because if you want a dream from a long time ago, that's fine too. But, let us know that. When did you have the dream? What happened in it? If there's people in the dream that you know, like your mother-in-law, your child, we'll ask for that information. How you felt about the dream, colors, scents, anything like that that you might have experienced, taste. I know I've had dreams about eating before. And so just tell us as much as you can. It gives me a lot to work with. And then Margarita will use her pendulum and we'll go for it. Yeah. What's been going on with you this week?
Well, it's for some reason, for whatever reason, I've been thinking a lot about like parents. And my parents have been gone, and coming from Latin America, we just have kind of a very strong, regardless of how our parents are, just strong relationship and respect for parents. And I go back to the book The Little Prince,
Mm.
that said what is essential is invisible to the eye. So this brings me to the concept, because I start thinking about a concept of my life's philosophy, which is that we are here to love and grow. So, since embracing that concept, I feel like more grounded, happier, and just as stronger to take on life surprises of hills and valleys. So, when I start thinking about parents, I just remember what I heard someone, he was a psychiatrist. That was about 10 or 15 years ago. And it was an event from Edgar Cayce in LA. And the psychiatrist says that souls choose the parents. And
Mm.
I'm like, what does that mean? I thought that was pretty interesting. Have you heard that before?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, so because apparently it suggests that we choose the parents for growth, lessons, fulfilling life's missions. And there's even traditions, like I believe the Kabbalah is one. I know the path of Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda talks about it. This person, the psychiatrist from Edgar Cayce, and I have heard that before. And it just makes a lot of sense. And there's also, well, there's going to be people who don't believe in it,
Of
and
course. Yeah.
that's, of course, I mean, even I just heard about it, like I said, 10, 15 years ago, and I start more things up. Once you hear something, you start seeing more of that or hearing more of that. I guess it's what they call the reticular activator in the brain. So somehow it just from there, it just grow to where I feel right now. And even I believe Louise Hay in her book, You Can Heal Your Life, I think is the name of that book. One of the
Good
first
book.
people, one of the first people we need to forgive is our parents. And so there's even, so all these things put together, it just makes, it just makes a lot of sense. And you are a parent. I never had my own children, but I did have parents. So it is, we come here to love and grow, and of course when you are younger you just don't think about all these things because we are too busy working.
Yeah.
But as time goes by, and if that's something that we want to do, which is continue to grow, um, if that's the interest. But I know a lot of people I have just wonderful parents in so many ways. No one is perfect as long as we are on earth. And there's some people who have traumatic experience with parents or were abandoned. And it goes back to, what's the name? There's this Irish lady, to put it plainly. She's an author, Lorna Byrne. Okay. She's a
Yeah.
spiritual teacher.
Wonderful.
So it also comes from the Catholic Church. You see, because she's very Catholic as far as I know.
Hmm.
And she shared the belief that a soul chooses the parents before conception and fully aware of their flaws and virtues. And that choice is made, in heaven, and it's a way to see the soul to learn and grow. So it goes back to it. Yogananda talks about it. Edgar Cayce talks about it. So it's a lot of Eastern, the Eastern philosophies, they place a lot of emphasis on the spirit and believe that's what we are more than it's in the West. So for a lot of people, that could be a new concept. But if you look at the Bible, there's 10 commandments. And in those 10 commandments, it says, honor your parents. It doesn't say honor your children. It doesn't say honor so and so. So there's a reason for that, So I'm just putting it out there. Is it true to you? I have no idea, but it just kind of resonated with me when I see it in like so many places, and more the ancient scriptures, which is more what I'm kind of, I do follow and believe. I don't know what you think about all this, and even with your own kids. Or, as a matter of fact, you told me a story about a lady who's very, very lonely. She's like 90 years old, and she wanted to go and live with the kids here and there. Maybe you could even share that, because I think there's some growth for those kids,
Yeah.
for actually adults.
There's always growth with a parent-child relationship for sure. But so I wanted to clarify. I will share her story, but I wanted to clarify. You talked about the traditions like the Kabbalah and things like that. So when you were referencing that, what you were suggesting is that those traditions mention this concept of parents being chosen by the children.
The
Is that what you're
soul.
the
The
soul?
soul before is, and the Kabbalah, I'm not familiar. I just briefly read about it, that they are more like the teachers. As a matter of fact, I try to see everybody before I get it's like, oh, why did that person do this? Or these relatives, and you start going on. I try to, now I'm just aware enough to stop my train of thought and see pretty much everyone as a teacher, because we are here to learn.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
when
yeah.
I see it as a teacher instead of someone who's doing wrong to me, then it just kind of, I change my perspective, because I do believe in the subtle energies in energy, and even thoughts being energy. So because if anybody meditates or just stays in silence, you will understand, you understand what, what I'm saying, because it's like they say, even again in the Bible, not that I know the Bible very well, to be honest, but it says, be still and know that I am God. And we are, like Lorna Burns said, we are a little spark of light of the one being, the one creator.
Yeah.
It's just, those are my beliefs. I mean, everything, there's always the yin and the yang. No
Yeah.
matter what, there's going to be people that don't believe or don't experience, which is okay.
Of
Just
course. Yeah.
absolutely. We are all at different stages in life, in this, the
Yeah.
soul, I guess, the soul path.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I always like what Ram Dass said is that we're all just walking each other home. And so everybody's going to get home. It's just a question of when. We've got the stragglers, we got the people who are already there reading the newspaper. So we've got all different levels. But I like the part you brought up about that the souls choose the parents, even knowing their faults and their flaws, because quite honestly, that'd be lovely when somebody's complaining about my mothering skills. I could say, on some level, you knew all this going in and you still bought the product. So I don't know what to tell you on that one. But yeah, I think it's neat. I think it's neat to know that there is that connection with your parents, that you chose them, because I mean, some people have truly horrific experiences with their parents, and that's, we're certainly not negating that and making light there. But for a lot of people, you have the good and you have the bad, and you have these wonderful things you learned from your parents. A lot of times you are your parents. I mean, a lot of us as we get older realize, oh my gosh, I'm my mother, or oh my gosh, I'm my father, or somebody will tell you like, oh, you remind me so much of your mother or your father. So you pick stuff up from them, you just do, and it's part of who you are, it's part of your makeup. So that's just part of who we are, and I think that's neat.
Yeah, and even the reason for us talking about that, so for me bringing this up, is because as part of our growth, we always sometimes want to put the blame on others.
Sure.
A lot of people do that automatically. Others, I do it sometimes myself when I have to really uh, get better with, or yeah, with someone and understand. And it has taken me, this someone I know, it's taken me almost like a lifetime until I realize. And I can always, like, no matter what I do, I always putting the blame on the other side, never appreciate, or never this, never that. And then one time I realized that it was all me. And when I realized that, it's almost like overnight everything changed. Like the people, it was like, I'm always just so amazed,
Yeah.
to be honest, of just how blind, I guess is a good word to say, we go through in this world. So if we ever, it's always like, how do I change myself, like, or seeing people as teachers. And yes, even Paramahansa Yogananda, he actually went a little deeper in something that I was reading, where they said, when there's like a father and a mother, two men, not, yeah, father and mother, getting ready to have a child, and all these souls are up, call it heaven, up in the ether, just looking at who is going to be, of all those souls who want to come back here to continue to grow, who is going to be the one that is going to go into that, into the womb, to choose those parents, because they need those lessons. So sometimes, I mean, the lessons are not definitely good. And that's why maybe we get, I know with my parents and grandparents, very difficult situations, abuse, alcoholism, name it. But even in the case of my dad, he was somehow forgiven of his own father. So it's, everything is relative. I always say that everything is relative.
Yeah.
So it just depends, if you want to, kind of let go of things, which is probably the most difficult thing. But
Yeah.
sometimes we are here, and that's, I love that we are here to love and grow. And that's just, as easy and beautiful as it sounds, it's just a very deep affirmation.
Yeah, I agree. It is, some people in the spiritual community are talking about that part of the growth that is coming, I think, starting with in December of 2025 and then going forward, they're saying is kind of a movement towards, well, not towards, away from victim mentality. And so sometimes that's kind of what you can use as an excuse for stopping your own personal growth is, well, but this is what I learned at my house when I grew up. This is what I learned from my parents. And so I can't really help it. They were this way. And so now I'm this way. And that is victim mentality. It's a helplessness that doesn't need to be there, and we can work on it. And I know when I get very frustrated with people, I first of all remember what Edgar Casey always said: self is always meeting self, which is really frustrating if you look at somebody who's making you mad and you realize, well, how am I meeting myself? I'm not like that, but maybe another time you were. And then you just realize, like, how could I have stood myself because that's so obnoxious? But I think it's important to remember that. And I think it's just also important to remember we always have a choice about how we're handling things and how we want to move forward and grow. And so you can carry this burden of your family with you forever, or you can let it go and just, you're your own self. At the end of the day, you're your own self, and you can make choices and you can change things for yourself. And you can also see your parents did the best job they knew how to do. It doesn't mean it was good enough. In some cases, it was not good enough, but they did the best they knew how to do, or they made the best choice they were capable of. So I think it's important to forgive and or to let go, one of the two. But I like that. I like everything you brought up. That was very, very interesting, and it is a big factor in people's lives. Your parents and your siblings are very impactful in your life, and they, because you spend so much time with them in your life, from cradle to grave. A lot of them are with you a good chunk of the way, especially your siblings. So I think it's important to work on healing that so that you can move forward, however that looks for you.
Yeah, no, that's
So you
I
grow.
love the fact that you said about choosing, because I'm a huge believer of that we are here. That's what is called the will. We have will to choose, and we either we harvest whatever we chose, and we did, and either in this life or the next one. It's just how we grow, and even in this, I think it's Eckhart Tolle who talks a lot about the ego and the soul. Like there's two things inside each of us,
Mm,
and the ego is more confined to the material world. It's not, and it's not just Eckhart Tolle. It's a lot of
yeah.
people talk
Yeah.
about that,
He's a
but
great,
it's just
great
yeah,
leader and role
yeah.
model. Yeah.
Exactly. And so many philosophies, they will always tell you it's the ego and the soul, while the ego is more concerned or more in line with the material world, the senses. The soul is just that spark of light, that make us one with the whole creation.
Yeah. And I'll put the notes in the show notes with links to a lot of these people in case you don't know who they are, so you can at least find out who they are, basically. But these are all wonderful people that we're mentioning here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So
Well,
that's
thank
about
you.
it. Yeah, we could
Yeah,
keep going, but better
I know.
not.
No, we certainly could, and we usually
Yeah.
do. But in the interest of our listeners, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Please hit the like button below. If you're still listening, you must like it. So go ahead and like it, and then you can share it with somebody you know. That's always a really nice thing to do. You can also subscribe so that you will know whenever we are releasing a new episode. And again, please visit our website at dreamdowsing.com, where you can sign up to put your own dream in the basket for us to pull from. We would love to be able to interpret your dream. Thank you very much, Margarita. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everyone who's listening.
Yes.
And we'll see
Thank
you
you.
soon again, and have a
Yes.
beautiful week.
Yes. Many blessings to all of you.
Blessings.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.